Did you know that constipation affects about 20% of adults, and it is very common, especially in adults 60 years and above? That doesn't mean that the younger people do not have it, but it is real that constipation affects quite a good number of people. Did you also know that somebody can stay without bowel movement in a month? That is to mean they can go to the washroom to relieve themselves once in a month. When you experience such kind of constipation, then we say that you are experiencing a chronic constipation. Why? Because a chronic constipation can always go straight for 6 months. That is to say that you periodically experience lack of bowel movements within 6 months. Now, bowel movement, when I say bowel movements, I mean defecating, I mean going to the washroom to relieve yourself of long calls. Now, what is constipation? That is the subject that KAREEM'S clinic is tackling today. Before we delve deeper into it, kindly subscribe or consider subscribing if you find this information useful to you. You can like and share as well. Thanks for that. Now, constipation is a condition where there is less frequent bowel movement and difficulty in passing hard poo. That is supposed to mean that when you go or when you have a bowel moment, usually we need to have it come out on its own. If you find yourself pushing and straining too much, that means you are constipating. If you find yourself having a bowel moment, you relieve yourself, but when you are done, you feel like you are not satisfied that the whole thing has come out again. That means that you are constipating. There are people also whom, when they are having a bowel moment, they struggle but nothing comes out. The color shape of your poop can always show whether you are constipating or not. I will present to you Bristol chart. Look at this Bristol chart. The Bristol chart will give you the shape of the poo that is there, the type, and the meaning. Look at type 1. Type 1, if you have such separated hard lumps as your poo, then that means you are severely constipated. You have severe constipation. In type 2, if there are lumpy and sausage-like poo, then it means you have mild constipation. If your poop looks like sausage with some cracks in the surface, it means that your poop is normal. Type 4 will show you like a smooth, soft sausage or like a snake. That again means you're normal. If it is soft blobs with dear-cut edges, then that means you are lacking fiber. And when it is mushy, consistently with rugged edges, then that means you're having mild diarrhea. And when you have liquid consistency with no solid pieces, then that means you are suffering from severe diarrhea. This Bristol chart is just there to show us whether we are constipated or we are suffering constipation, or we have normal poop, or we are diarrheaing. And because we are talking about constipation, when you eat, when you feed, and the digestive process begins right in the mouth, and it goes all through to your stomach. It enters the small intestine, or what we call the small bowel, where water is absorbed. By the time it is moving towards the colon, or what we call the large intestine, 90% of water has already been reabsorbed or absorbed into the body, so that that water works inside the body, in the blood and the cells within the body. So it means that when you extract water from the food that you ate or the food that you eat, the remnant of that will be a little bit harder and not soft. When nutrients is taken away from food and water is also taken away from food, what remains of that food is what we call stool. Now this stool, upon reaching the colon or the large intestine, a lot of water has already been absorbed by the small intestine. Coming into the large intestine, we know mineral salts and water will also be absorbed by the large intestine. When this absorption takes place, it means that the stool that is within the large intestine would be drier and will not have water. Now, when you take water out of a stool, it becomes drier and thicker. In fact, it increases in volume. So, if it increases in volume, when it is going through the colon, it squeezes itself all the way through, trying to find a way out of the colon into the rectum. That squeezing itself through is what we call, it is a process that we call peristalsis. Peristalsis helps the poop to squeeze itself all through. Sometimes it slows down the movement. When it slows down the movement, it is worth noting that when the movement is slowed down, then the poop begins to show constipation at that point. It is drier, the movement is slow, in what we call a slow transit constipation. So this slow transit constipation is always common in young women, and with time can lead to chronic constipation. What we are looking at here is when this thing reaches that is the stool, when it reaches the rectum, we have two anal sphincters. We have the internal sphincter and the external sphincter. The internal sphincter works with what we call nerve impulses. The moment the poop reaches there, you have no control about feeling that there is a presence of something. You will never control that. It is involuntary. So a nerve impulse is sent. A nerve impulse is a message or an information is sent to the brain that, you know what, the poop has reached the rectum. Then the brain sends back another information telling the internal sphincter to relax, to allow the poop come out. So the internal will relax. That's why sometimes when you are about to have a bowel moment and you are far, or you feel like you are pressed and you need to have a bowel moment and you are fine. In fact, sometimes it even finds you in a car or a bus. So you will feel like you really, it's there, it's arrived, it needs to come out because the brain has already sent that information. But there is that external sphincter, anal sphincter. That external anal sphincter is there for you to use to regulate whether it's coming out or not. That is now voluntary. You can close it or you open it when you are ready. That's why, in as much as the information has been sent and you are pressed, you can always have a moment of closing the sphincter so that it does not come out. So the internal sphincter you have no control over. The external one you can control. Now, what I'm trying to say here is we need to ensure that we have enough water for us to avoid constipation. But the big question is that all we need? And is that the main cause of constipation? It is the main cause of constipation, yes, but it does not originate from just water. It originates from other foods that we eat, or from other conditions that we go through, or from the medications that we use as secondary constipation. Therefore, it is very important that we look at what are these that lead to constipation. One thing that leads to constipation is coffee. People who drink coffee will agree with me that their bowel moment is never that easy. They find themselves straining. Coffee takes away water from the poop. Number 2, if you eat diet high in calcium levels or high in synthetic ions, then again you will experience constipation. If you use medications such as opiates or narcotics, you will also experience constipation. If you are diabetic, it is common that you experience constipation. If you use gluten, these dairies, we have people who are allergic to gluten, who have issues with gluten, whose guts, whose alimentary canals have problem with glutens. Such people should avoid them because the glutens will always make sure that you constipate. Pregnancy is a normal cause of constipation. Why? Because when somebody is pregnant, the progesterone levels rise. When they rise, they interfere with the gut processes, and that means constipation will be experienced. There is something called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is when there is bacteria overgrowth within the gut. That means the gut microbiomes. So within the gut there are good bacteria. Now when these bacteria overgrow and there is not that balance in the gastrointestinal tract or the gut, then you will experience a lot of constipation. So how do we get rid of constipation? You know, in women, it is always common just before periods or during periods to see constipation. And of course, this is still because of the progesterone that I talked about. So if we look at the progesterone and we look at how that progesterone can affect our digestive system so that we constipate most of the time, then with women it is normal and common. But there are very many ways that we can use to alleviate constipation. Now, if you go to a doctor, most doctors will tell you drink a lot of water, which is okay. You will be told to increase your fiber intake. Of course, women should take between 21 to 25 grams of insoluble fiber a day. Men, on the other hand, should take 30 to 38 grams of fiber. But this is what I usually say. Before we look at all these, do you know that constipation makes you feel full? It makes the process of peristalsis very difficult, so that there is no flow of traffic of the stool. There is not that smooth flow. So instead of just starting with fiber, if you take fiber will even worsen the situation at the beginning. It will worsen the situation at the beginning, especially when it has gone chronic. Sometimes when you feel like you're bloating and you take fiber, and of course it is advised that you take fiber, but when you take fiber at the onset, you realize the stomach disturbs even more, the bloating even worsens. So make sure that you add water into your colon first. And that adding water doesn't mean you drink water. Number one, what I usually tell my patients, always use essential magnesium. Essential magnesium consists of magnesium glycinate. It also has magnesium citrate, and it also has magnesium malate. Now, this combination gives us what we call essential magnesium. Everywhere magnesium is known as a miracle mineral. How does this work? Essential magnesium works as osmotic laxity. It actually draws water into the colon. It takes water from other cells and draws the water into the colon. And when it draws water into the colon, it makes the poop softer. And that is what we want. Don't go taking fiber fast. Make sure you soften the poop and let it drain out fast. Then you can now take fiber. The second thing that you need, and I'm talking to people who have chronic constipation, the second supplement that you need is known as motility activator. Now, motility activator is actually a ginger formula. This one is not a medicine as such. It is a natural prokinetic. This one will always make sure that motility, movement within the colon, is easier. So that when you are taking that fiber, the fiber finds that the movement is easier also for it to move. So can you imagine you take fiber and the movement within there is not, within your colon, is not smooth, is not easy. Then it means you are not going to get help from that fiber, because ahead, when you eat the fiber, there is blockage ahead. Can you drain that blockage? So, and number 3, I would always say, can you get the Digestive Enzyme Pro? This is a supplement that can always help you break down the food within the colon. Break it down. That food that is not broken down, any remnant that is not broken down. Okay, we have what we call the biofilms within the colon. The biofilms are produced by bad bacteria to evade digestion. So, this Digestive Enzyme Pro can always even break down the biofilms. And that makes sure that your colon is now smooth. It is from that point that you can now have your fiber. Get your fiber. Consume fiber. If you're a woman, take 21 to 25 grams. If you are a man, take 30 to 38 grams. Now, which foods are these that can help in fiber? You can have the fruits, you can have veggies, you can have whole grains, you can have nuts. All that will help you. Drink water, and you need to drink half your body weight in ounces. When you have your body weight in pounds, for instance, if I weigh 200 pounds, I need to drink water that is about 100 ounces. You can always convert that to kilograms and liters. But in short, if you are constipating and you weigh between 50 to 100 kilos, take 2.5 to 3 liters of water daily. If you weigh between 100 kilos to around 200 kilos, take between 3 liters to 4 liters of water daily. That will suffice the need of water, and that will soften the stool. And remember, it softens the stool after you have cleaned the path. It is very essential that you also work out. Work out. When you work out, exercise can always make sure that within your gut there are good bacteria that are produced. The gut microbiomes are produced, and they are of good quality and even quantity, so that they help ease digestion within the gut. Also reduce stress. When you have stress, whatever the stressor will block the ability by the brain to communicate with the gut. If there is no communication between the gut or the alimentary canal or the digestive system, if there is no communication between the brain and the gut, then food will not be properly digested. You can imagine, when the food is supposed now to be digested, a particular enzyme or juice is supposed to be produced, and you are stressed, and that has blocked the brain from communicating, everything will be slowed down. The communication between the brain and the gut should be so swift. I also want you to know that during the digestion, it is not just peristalsis that takes place so that the stool or the poop is formed. No, we have millions and millions of bacteria within the gut that also directly contribute to the formation of that poop that we are talking about. So the good bacteria within the gut must be efficient and sufficient, and they need to get a good medium or a good platform for action. If you are supposed to go for a bowel moment, please go. Don't hold the bowel moment. Don't hold the stool. Don't hold the poop. Just go. The moment you feel you need to relieve yourself, please do. If you don't, it will always cause more problems. I would want to talk about probiotics. If you have issues again with constipation, you can always consider buying probiotics. There are very many probiotics, including any probiotic that has got what we call lactobacillus or bifidobacterium. Those ones are good. However, if you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, people who have issues with their stomach, so that when they feed on anything, they're always having stomach issues and straight to the washroom. For you who have such issues, always look for probiotic yeast. Always look for that probiotic that has a relationship with the yeast. That will always help you. Now, this whole topic of constipation is wide and very broad. There are a lot of things that we can talk about when it comes to constipation. What I've given you here is just an icing on the cake. So make sure that when you are constipating, you can always go back and listen carefully to the instructions so that you alleviate constipation. That is all KAREEM'S Clinic had today. And I want to say thank you for listening. I wish you the best of health. Thank you.